Hello there, and welcome to the ES Fancast, stories from insiders for the fans. With the ES Fancast, we bring you an immersive and interactive interview experience that gets you, the fan, a sneak peek inside of the world of your favorite sports. My name is Noah Lack, host of the ES Fancast, and today we have someone who's worn multiple hats. She's been a boxer, a model, a mental health care advocate, and a mother. This is Mia St. John, and when she was 29, she decided to pursue boxing professionally. She was a multi-division champion who earned the nickname of the Knockout, scoring 19 wins via KO. Mia St. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. I actually had over 70 pro fights, and I think I had 49 wins.
Oh, yeah.
49 wins. Oh, 19 by KO. Yeah. You got that
19 by
right.
KO. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
we wanted to highlight the KO because you're the Knockout, which is we'll touch on that nickname in a little bit, but the fact that you've earned that name in combat sports when literally anyone else could have that, that's incredible.
Thank you.
So we're on the stream. A lot of people are watching me, but I gotta ask you, what does life look like for a retired boxer? Like, how you doing right now? How's everything going post fighting career?
Oh, oh my gosh. Well, ask any fighter. It's a difficult transition because most people don't retire until, usually like their 70s. So to retire, I retired just shy of 50 years old. So that's really young to be retired. It's a tough life. A lot of
How
my
so?
friends, well, it's tough when you're amongst friends who are other retirees and they're in their 70s, and it's difficult to relate because you're so young, and you find yourself thinking, okay, I might live another 30 years. What am I going to do with those 30 years? Right? Because to retire at 50, you still have a lot of life left, and you have to
Right.
figure out what you're going to do with the rest of that life. And it's difficult.
Yeah. Well, you're
I
like
mean, I
you're
I
not.
I travel. I work out every day. I do a lot of volunteer work. Hang out with my friends, go shopping, but you kind of run out of things to do.
Hmm. Well, I was gonna say, like, it's not like you're an old retired. You're like still young and spry and like can do a bunch of stuff. I feel like that'd be really cool to just do whatever you want every day.
Well, I do a lot of hiking. That's something that I a hobby I've taken up. And that I just love. I hike as many mountains as I can get to, and yeah, it's exciting. Um, but again, at the end of the day, there's only so much hiking you can do, and
So-
and until you start to run out of ideas, and you're like, okay, now what?
yeah. Hey, you should come up to Northern California. We got plenty of hiking trails up here. You ever been to Yosemite?
Yeah, yes, I have, and I was actually born in San Francisco.
Okay. Nice. Bay
Yeah,
Area
but
representing.
I'm a SoCal girl.
Okay. Okay. Respect. It's a little better weather down there. A little better weather.
Yeah.
Um, so Mia, we right now, like, we see, we see a lot of boxers calling out MMA fighters. And those MMA fighters are stepping inside the boxing ring for, whatever reason it may be, for, notoriety, building their brand, their platform, or trying something new. My question to you is, you're among the very few boxers who dare to step into the MMA cage and won. And I think it's rare to see a boxer, go that route. What made you, decide to take this path?
Well, I got offered a fight in Hawaii, um, but it was for MMA, and the money was right. And the first of all, the money has to be right, otherwise you don't risk it. It's too big of a risk.
Sure.
And I had to learn a lot of ground fighting, which was very difficult. And, it's a difficult sport, as is boxing, but MMA equally is difficult. And so I did the one fight and then I returned quickly back to boxing. But hey, if the money would have kept on coming for MMA, I would have stayed in MMA. But fortunately, I got paid more to be a boxer, and so I stuck with boxing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. The money makes sense. Well, you'll do it. Did that also your confidence of stepping in MMA? Did it help that you were also black belt Taekwondo champion?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of kicking experience, so I had that down. What I had a difficult time with was the ground fighting because I
Mm,
didn't have any grappling experience. That was something I had to learn and learn very quickly. And, that requires a lot of talent that in an area that I just didn't, was foreign to me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think we like in MMA particularly. We always love the face-up fighters, but the other part of the fight is the wrestling and the grappling, and that's a whole nother
Yeah,
skill
and that
set.
it really is. And I have so much respect for the grapplers because it really is requires a very unique talent. And I have the utmost respect for those fighters.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And look, I know the answer to this question, but I'm required to ask you this anyways, okay? Which one do you prefer? Which one? Choose one. MMA or boxing?
Oh, hands down, boxing. Hands down. And I know I love kicking. I kicked for 23 years. And I loved it. It was my passion, it but when I was introduced to boxing, that became my passion. And I fought for well over 20 years as a pro. And if I had to pick between the two, I still would pick boxing any day.
Hmm. Do you think boxing is easier on the body, or they doesn't really make a difference? Because I know there's kicking and whatnot MMA, but obviously there's more targeted headshots in boxing. In your opinion, like which one do you think? Who do you think
I,
sustains more
I
damage?
Oh, definitely the boxer, because our damage is internal, is the brain.
Mm,
And we suffer more concussions than a football player. Um, and we have to keep fighting. We can't take time off for concussions.
right.
And we sustain concussions regularly. I mean,
Oof.
when we're not fighting, we're sparring every day in the ring, and so we're constantly taking that brain damage. And it's far more dangerous than MMA, because a lot of MMA, as there's a lot of grappling, a lot of ground fighting, a lot of wrestling, and a lot of kicks to the body. So it's not all constant head blows. Whereas
Right.
boxing, the majority of the punches are going to the head, and the majority of KOs come from the head. So there's a lot more damage in boxing than there is MMA.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that perspective. And for those watching the stream, would really encourage you to check out our polls and reels here on the ES Fancast. So if you're watching us right now, us chopping it up with Mia St. John, Mia St. Patrick, make sure you check out the polls and reels that we have. Mia, I have the stats here, and we're ready to. So 65 fights, right? 40 wins. Out of 19, those were knockouts. Do you have a particular
Yeah. And
knockout that you
it
have?
is actually it's actually I've had 72 pro fights because the fights in Mexico, a lot of the fights in Mexico were not registered in the United States. So I've actually had 72 pro fights.
Oh, there we
Just
go.
to clarify that, a lot of
Thank you.
fighters that fight in Mexico, their records don't transfer over. But a particular knockout, God, I would have to say my very first KO, my pro debut, because it was so exhilarating. It was a feeling that I quickly became addicted to.
Mm. It was one of the, was it one of those, like, was it almost first day of school kind of feeling where it's your very
Oh yeah,
first one?
I was so nervous. I wanted to run out of there so fast. Um, but when I won, it was like the best feeling in the world.
Do you remember the combo move? Like, can you set up sort of that
Oh
moment for us?
yeah, it was my straight right, which was always my key punch. I was more of a boxer than a fighter. Um, so I didn't have a lot of KOs if you compare it to the amount of times I fought. Um, I won most of my fights by unanimous decision, because I was more of a boxer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Big on the fundamentals,
I
the right
was
jab.
a big puncher.
Hmm. And but like this is what is subtly, or not subtly, what I think is incredibly impressive. We have all these boxing MMA legends, from Muhammad Ali to Conor McGregor to Sugar Ray Leonard, and to Ronda Rousey. But there's only one person. There's one person out of all these fighters whose nickname was the Knockout. That would be you. How did you earn this? Obviously knocking people out, but would you remember when you finally earned that nickname, the Knockout?
Well, it was when I turned pro, my trainer was like, okay, you have to have a nickname. What's it going to be? And I said, I don't know. Like, I couldn't decide. And so he came up with the Knockout as a double meaning, you know, uh, because I wore the pink and wore makeup in the ring. So, yeah, it was actually
Oh,
that came up with that.
because you were a knockout for your looks, and then if I
Yeah,
get too entranced and dizzy with the looks, boom, right jab in the
yeah,
face. Night night, night night.
right.
Okay. Well, obviously with the highs come the lows, of course, for combat sports. And do you remember your toughest fight of your career?
Yeah, the toughest fight in my career, um, I actually won. I beat this girl 3 times, but she was my toughest opponent. This girl, she wasn't very sound technically, and that's how I beat her, was on points. But she was the hardest hitter I've ever come across, and I said, I mean, I remember she broke my front teeth, and um luckily I was able to salvage them, but I thought she had given me brain damage. I mean, this girl, and she was not even technically sound. That was the thing, but she just hit so damn hard.
Damn. And what was her name?
I'm never going to say her name because I to this day I'm still resentful and I don't want to give her credit. But
You're holding the
it's
beef for that long,
I know
Mia?
I know. Can you believe that I'm still like harboring like those feelings against her?
Oh my goodness. Well, we got to come back to that, because we're going to talk a little bit about coming out of retirement for exhibition matches to give you a little preview. And
Yeah.
I think we found you an opponent.
Oh, okay. I'm excited.
But you won those 3 times. What was the most heartbreaking loss for you?
Probably, oh God, let's see. Every loss is heartbreaking. It's
Mm.
just absolutely heartbreaking. But probably my very first loss. I was TKO'd in San Antonio, Texas on live on ESPN, and they replayed the KO like over and over and over again. Um and that was just heartbreaking. It was heart-wrenching to see myself on camera, to see the replays, and where my eyes are like in the back of my head, and I was
Oh,
wobbly. It was so heartbreaking. It was my very first loss.
is it always cringy or heartbreaking watching yourself getting knocked out, or do like you become numb to it?
Well, that was the only time I was ever I want to say I've had fights that were stopped, but never because I was knocked out. That was the first time that I was actually and ever knocked down in a fight. There was I only went down once in my entire career. Um and the other fights that I lost or that I was stopped, I just kind of gave up. I just quit in the ring.
Yeah.
I was older at this time and well beyond my prime, and I just quit. I just didn't have it in me anymore. Like that fight was just the adrenaline and all that was gone by that time. By
Yeah.
that time I was just taking fights. This was much later in my career. I was just taking the fights for the money. I knew I was well past my prime, but
Sure.
I I was still addicted to the money, and so that's why I was doing it.
The
But
money,
my heart was gone.
chasing the money without your heart being in it. I mean, it's tough because you gotta love this shit, you know? I mean,
Oh,
it's
you have to.
yeah,
You have to, because you're putting your life on the line.
absolutely. I gotta, I mean, actually, I'm gonna ask you this right now. So you've seen Mike Tyson make a comeback to have an exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr. Floyd Mayweather seems like he has an exhibition fight every other week. If given
Mhm.
the opportunity, would you consider making a comeback for an exhibition match against the foe that you can't even say her name on this stream?
Well, it's funny because I was just in New York last week doing the Tamron Hall show, and I was with one of the directors of the WBC, which was my sanctioning body for my belt, um, for my championships. And she said, I got a call from someone a promoter that wants you to do an exhibition fight. And I said, man, like, I can't think of anything I would love more. But I told her, I said, to be honest, and this is Jill Diamond, she's with the WBC. And I said, Jill, I just don't know if, like, I work out every day, but not boxing training. Like I just go, I do my weights,
But you look
do
fit. You look
do my
good. You
do
still
my
look like you
cardio.
got a.
But boxing training is a whole different animal. And I told her, I just don't know if I have it in me to do that again. I just don't know. And I said, well, let's see what the money is. Because for the right amount of money, I could get that heart back in me.
I know, no doubt on my mind you can. The first thing we said when we started talking was you feel like you're retired young, you've run out of things to do. Why not get back to old times, start training again and get back for
I
exhibition
I
max? I'd pay to
would.
see that.
I would pay me the right amount of money and I'll do it. You gotta pay, but I'm telling you, you gotta pay me a lot to get me out of bed and to get back into a boxing ring. It's
I
got to
don't
be
think
a
the money, absolutely. Let that solidify. But I think if we get a certain opponent in there in the ring to to challenge you, I feel good about you making that return. I feel good. um and and just a reminder to everyone watching the Fancast right now, please check out some of our infographics that we have on the Fancast. Shout out to all the loyal streamers, all the people watching the stream right now with Mia St. John. Mia, so besides boxing, besides MMA, that's not the only thing you've tried your hands at. You've gotten into modeling. Clearly, have done exceptionally well there as well. From being on the cover of Playboy, starring in multiple films, I think it's safe to say you're one of the few combat sports icons that's chosen this sort of path. How was it like when you first started modeling for Playboy?
Well, it was a one-time thing. I was offered to do a pictorial by Hef, and so Hef and my promoter Bob Arum at the time did like a co-promotion. Um, so it was all very strategic, that we would plan it around a fight. I would come out on the cover. Um, and I wasn't the cover to begin with, but I told Hef, like, look, like there was a blonde, blue-eyed white girl that was supposed to be on the cover. And I said, look, Latinas are just as beautiful as these blonde, blue eyes you always put on the cover. It's about time you put a Latina on the cover. And
Right.
so he said, let me get your pictures back and then I'll get back to you. And so 2 weeks later, I got the call that I was the cover. But again, it all boiled down to money. You pay enough, and I got paid more than I ever made on any fight.
Whoa.
So yeah, so it was definitely worth it for me. And I still do autograph signings for that Playboy.
That caught me by surprise. They say they paid you more than any boxing match you participated
Yes.
in.
Yes. Crazy, right?
Mia, I like you a lot. You're a businesswoman. You're about your business.
Total
uh
business.
it so is it true that you had to also do modeling to also fund your education?
So no, what happened was before, when I was still in the amateurs of Taekwondo, I was studying to get my bachelor's degree. And of course, in the amateurs, you don't make any money. So I wasn't making any money. And um, I realized a quick way to make money was doing little modeling gigs. And so that's what helped me pay for my tuition.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And was in comparing sort of the boxing industry, the fighting industry, and entertainment industry to modeling, were any things that caught you by surprise about the modeling industry? Were there any frustrations you had with the process of shoots and whatnot, and interacting with other models, or was it pretty normal?
Well, I think nothing about shooting for Playboy was norm. I First of all, I hate modeling. I hate posing for magazines. I do it, but I hate posing for magazines. I
Why?
hate it. It's just, it's, to me, it's the most boring thing in the world. Hurry up and wait. You know, you got to wait for the set, wait for everything to be set up, and and modeling to me is just boring, absolutely boring.
Definitely not as interactive as throwing some punches at someone else.
No, definitely
I
not.
I mean, it's like night and day. I mean, you're literally sitting there doing nothing but posing versus
Right.
training for months and months for.
And I have ADD. Like I have to be going constantly. Like I have to be like moving. So to sit and model and do poses for long periods of time is just, I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, did you ever feel like a fish out of water in terms of, you're a boxer and now like you take the gloves off, you go hop into the modeling world. You're probably around people that maybe have not watched a fight before. Do you ever feel like out of place at any point?
Well, I always feel out of place when I'm modeling because I know it's just not my thing. It's just not me.
Hmm.
Um, but again, like you could force me into many things if the dollar amount is right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, appreciate you touching up on that. And for those watching, I mean, we have just a reminder for folks watching to check out some of our previous episodes that we've done with Adam Wilkes, Tristan Kennedy, Kai Wu, some incredible people. Um, Mia, you recently tagged, were tagging along with Hollywood star Keanu Reeves on a motorcycle trip. Can you chat about
Mhm.
that trip? Like, how did it all come together? That looked pretty fun.
Uh, well, okay, so every year, Keanu does this motorcycle trip with his friends that own. So Keanu owns Arch motorcycles. He's a big motorcycle fan, and he came up with his own motorcycle line. And so his friends that bought an Arch, they all get together once a year. Keanu plans it, and we go somewhere and they all ride. So it's actually my boyfriend that owns the Arch,
Hmm.
and he's actually Keanu's doctor. He's a cosmetic dentist, and Keanu is his patient. So anyway, they're really good friends, and so every year I tag along with my boyfriend, and we go on this trip with Keanu, and it's just amazing. Like
Yeah.
he is like hands down like the sweetest guy, like the most humble, and he's just um he's just fun to be with, first of all. um yeah, and I couldn't say enough things nice about him. He's just, and he's very generous. um just a really good guy, down to earth, and he's just amazing. As so is his girlfriend. His girlfriend is just lovely as can be.
Yeah. Does he have like an aura around him? When you guys are traveling, do people sense it?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm just smitten with Keanu. So every time he says my name, Mia, I'm just like, I honestly just melt, and my boyfriend just looks at me like, "Oh my God, you've got to be kidding me!" But I could tell you this: when Keanu says my name, I just melt. Like, I mean, look at him. Like, he's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, he always has been, and he
Good
still
looking
has.
guy.
Yeah, and Keanu has charisma. It's one thing to
Mhm.
be good looking, but it's another thing to have charisma, and he has it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is a silly question, but you ever talk about the matrix we live in, with you? Yeah, or ever you guys ever joke about that?
Um, no, no, because what I remember Keanu in, which is this is what I told him. I don't really I did watch The Matrix, but I fell in love with Keanu years before when he did his very first movie called River's Edge.
Hmm.
And that's the movie that really stands out for me because that's when I first saw him and just like fell head over heels for him. And little did I know as a young, teenager that one day I would be going on vacation with Keanu Reeves.
That's
like
pretty cool.
I would have said like no freaking way. Like there's no way. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I look forward. I look forward to seeing you guys next year, getting the invite. I'll be patiently waiting for the invitation.
Yeah, yeah, and every year he plans a new place.
Mm.
So it's always interesting to see. Like this last time we went to Sonoma,
Oh,
which was
nice.
absolutely beautiful, and before
Oh,
that
yeah.
was Palm Springs, and then before that was Temecula. So every year it's a new city, and it's always beautiful.
And what are you like? What are you doing? You're just riding around Sonoma, or is there a central place where you guys are
So
meeting?
what
Yeah.
so what he does is he'll rent out the whole hotel, and um we have set breakfast, lunch, dinner, and he plans out the most beautiful dinners and lunches and you can imagine. And then they have planned riding trips where they go riding to a certain area. And because I don't ride, Keanu has a van that follows the uh the riders. So I
Hmm.
follow along in a van behind the the riders. So
Okay.
I get to see all the sights and you know, I get to see what they're seeing, but just in a van because I don't
So you're
ride. And I'll never ride. I will never go on the back of my boyfriend's motorcycle.
what? Why not?
Never, never, never.
I I
That's
I
something
and I thought you would be in the mix, helmet on, back of the
no,
motorcycle. You're not even on the
no,
motorcycle? Oh my
no,
goodness.
no way. Never, never. I
That's fun.
know it's so funny. I think of myself as like, I was a risk taker. I mean, I boxed for all those years and risked my life, but I am afraid to get on a motorcycle.
Playboy model cover shoots, go risking your life, combat sports, but being on the back of a giant motorcycle, that's where we draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. I won't do it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Uh well, that's awesome, and thanks for sharing that. I'm curious. You touched on this a little bit with the hiking. What else have you been up to since besides modeling and acting, what else have you been up to since you've hung up the gloves?
So I have a foundation, miastjohnfoundation.org, if anyone wants to check us out. And we have programs for the homeless who are mentally ill or drug addicted. And so I spend a lot of my time, believe it or not, in a homeless shelter, talking and giving lessons in boxing, yoga, meditation, dance, um, to these individuals. And it's the absolute highlight of my week. I mean, these kids, and I call them kids because they're in their 20s and 30s, but they give me a sense of purpose, like a reason to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you touched on the foundation, because I wanted to transition a little bit about, backstory to this and the impetus for it. Per reports, Mia, you experienced an episode with alcohol, which was sort of a wake up call for you, and then since then, you've been sober. Can you walk us through sort of this transition and what it's meant to you and parallel with the foundation?
Yeah, so I had 30 years of sobriety. And then it was after the death of my children's father that I relapsed and spent a good 3 years drinking
Hmm.
a bottle of vodka a day. I'd start in the morning, end at night. Literally, like when I got sober, when I quit, I went through my house and I found bottles and bottles of empty bottles of vodka. And I just cannot, I look back on that and I can't believe my body consumed that much alcohol.
Mm.
Like it was just crazy. It was just like endless garbage bags.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I just, I, getting sober again was the best thing I ever did.
Absolutely. And thank you for once again, thank you for opening up about this. And so, was that sort of the mission, help start the mission for the foundation? And like what's sort of the main goal you want to achieve with, what you're working on?
Well, yeah. So the foundation actually, our programs actually started after my son died because my son had a mental illness. He had schizophrenia and he was addicted to meth. And so I started these programs for kids like my son, that are suffering from a mental illness and are self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. Um, so yeah, I owe it to my son, um, because he's what inspired these programs and what gives me purpose every day of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also part of, you published a memoir, Fighting for My Life, a
Yeah.
memoir about a mother's loss and grief. Um, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to recollect a lot of painful memories in order to successfully write the memoir, right? Can you walk us through that process? Like, how difficult was it to write the book and sort of relive the moments you needed to put on paper?
Yeah, it was very difficult, but at the same time, it was very cathartic for me. I was able to just get everything out, and it was a relief. Um, and when I get a lot of emails from mothers across the world that, or even fathers that have lost a child and email me, and I can't tell you how good that feels that I was able to connect with another parent that lost a child,
Mm,
because we belong to a very small club, because you're not supposed to bury your children, you're supposed to bury your parents. And so it's a very small club that we belong to. And we just have an instant connection because it's like you could say to each other, I feel your pain. I get you. I get it. Because unless you've lost a child, like no one, you can't comprehend that loss, that feeling.
yeah,
It's the worst feeling in the world. If you look at it, it is the worst thing that could happen to a human being. Hence, I mean, the great story of Jesus Christ, that God gave his only, I'm not religious, but God gave his only son, um, for the sake of others. And that sacrifice, that story was chosen because it's the most unthinkable thing that could possibly happen, right? Is losing your child.
Absolutely. And we still see you spreading awareness, in regards to your mission. Is there anything, for those watching on the stream and those who will be watching when our stream gets published, is there anything you want to emphasize for any parents or family members who are in a similar situation as you were?
Yeah. First of all, it's like no one can prepare you for the grief. And I think if someone would have told me a long time ago that I was never going to stop grieving, I think I would have been better off. But the truth is, there's no end. Like, I will grieve for the rest of my life. The only
Right.
thing I can do, the only thing I can strive for is just to move forward and try to help as many people as I can. Will I ever be happy again? Um, I don't know, but I don't strive for that anymore. The happiness eludes me. Um, right now, I just do the best that I can to help as many people as I can. That's my purpose here in this life. It
I
wasn't
think
to beat the shit out of another human being. That was my passion, but it wasn't my purpose. This is my
sure.
purpose.
That's incredible and a very noble cause and purpose. And if I may ask, a couple months ago, your daughter was also hospitalized, but we were relieved when you shared that she was finally released from the hospital, is in recovery. Can we get up to how is she doing now? Is she doing all right?
You know, um, thankfully, thankfully, my daughter had her episode in the state of Idaho.
Okay.
California, which is her home, is we have the worst mental health care, I want to say, in the country. I don't
Mm.
know about other states, but I know California sucks for mental
How
health care.
so?
Don't get sick in California. If you get mentally sick, you're basically, you could get on an involuntary hold, which is a 5150, but they're going to release you most likely the very next day, whether you're well or not. They're going to put you back out on the street. My daughter was held on a 5150 in Idaho and was kept in the hospital for 2 months. 2 months, because they wanted to make sure that my daughter had the best care possible, the best doctors, the best medication. They weren't simply going to hold her for a day or 3 days and toss her back out. They wanted to make sure that she was okay. They don't do that in the state of California. In the state of
Mm.
California, you are SOL if you have a mental illness. They're not gonna take the time to get you the best doctors, to get you the best medication. No, they're gonna give you a shot, make you better for the moment, for those few hours, and toss you back out on the street.
Mm. I didn't know
So
that. I
I
didn't know that
say,
about.
yeah, and it's crazy because Idaho is a Republican state.
Mhm.
California is, we're Democrats here in California. So Idaho is the last place I thought would care for my child. But I mean, ironically, like, it turned out to be the best place.
Yeah. Do you think do you think being sober has helped you has brought you closer to your daughter?
Um, I don't know about that. It was very difficult for my daughter when I relapsed, and um I think being sober definitely is the best thing for my daughter and helps my daughter. Uh, we're very close, regardless. Um, so I don't know if it brought us closer, but definitely her mental health issues brought us a lot closer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mia, we first of all, we pray and give you strength, you and your family. You're doing God's work for your foundation, and you're helping, people who need it. And we like to keep it light and fun on the stream, but we also are very aware of what you're doing with your foundation, and so we want to thank you and hope to support you and continue doing so.
Thank you. And sorry about the pajamas. I'm wearing my pajamas, everybody.
You look great. I mean, I like I said, like you look great in the pajamas. I thought this was
It
what
was
was
early
the.
in the morning and I didn't know I was going on camera. So I thought, oh, I'll just do it from my bed.
No, you look fantastic. You look good. You look good.
Okay.
Let's transition back to some more lighter topic. Let's talk a little boxing again. So right now in female boxing, Amanda Serrano and Danila Ramos created history with 12 3-minute rounds in a female boxing match. It received a little backlash, notably from WBC president Mauricio Suleiman, citing women's fighter safety. What's your point of view on the length of the rounds?
Well, and I'm not just saying this because, I love Mauricio. I mean, the WBC, that was my belt. Um, for all 5 championships, that was my belt. So love the WBC. I have to agree with them. There was a time when I was given the choice of whether I wanted to fight 3 rounds, or I'm sorry, 3-minute rounds, 12 rounds.
Mm.
And I chose not to. I not only believe that it's safer for women, I believe it's safer for the men too. I don't
For sure.
believe that men even should be going 12 rounds. And I don't believe in the 3 minutes. So, and I'm all for safety. And I just feel like when the majority of the deaths that happen in boxing happen in the later rounds.
Yes.
So, and I have to agree with Mauricio here.
What do you think what do you think is the middle ground? Is it 10 rounds? Is it 7? Like, what would you, if you have it your way, what would you select?
If it were up to me, but it's not, but if it was, I would say I would lower the rounds to even 8 rounds, and I would definitely keep it at 2 minutes, although I'm not against 3 minutes, because when I fought 3 minutes, like in training, I spent a good minute dancing around, strategizing.
Yeah.
So you could argue that, well, it's 2 minutes, you're actually at a faster pace. There's a lot more punches thrown because you got to get it all in 2 minutes. Whereas 3 minutes, it gives you time to strategize and kind of think about what you're going to do. So I'm not totally against the 3 minutes.
Okay. And I'm curious what our loyal streamers think. So if you have a chance, check out our polls, and also check out the reels, but check out our polls, and let us know what you think on that. Mia, it's incomplete to talk about boxing without the beef. So, like Clarissa Shields and Layla Ali, they've had some beef since Clarissa called her out. You've seen Layla Ali fight. You fought during the same era, and Clarissa Shields is, one of the best female boxers of this time.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to go head to head in their prime, both of them at peak condition, who do you pick? Who are you picking?
Oh, that's so hard to say. Layla, I believe, is a bit bigger than Clarissa. Not by much, but she is. It's really hard to say, Clarissa is, like you said, she's the best in the world today. Um, I think she's much more, the sport has evolved, and the female fighters today are not the female fighters of my time. Like, we were very green,
Hmm.
and our skills were nowhere near what the girls are showing today. So, I'd have to say Clarissa Shields, just based on that fact that the sport itself has evolved, and the women are far more technical today, far more accurate. So yeah, I'd probably have to go with Clarissa Shields.
It's so
But I
funny because
love Layla. I love Layla. I've always loved Layla Ali. She's amazing.
we were talking about it before the stream. My prediction was you were gonna say Layla because eras love supporting eras, and eras love to say
Mhm.
they're better than other eras. So you gave a very pragmatic, very realistic answer, based on just like that. I was surprised. I was surprised by your answer. I might say. I must say.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
But
but
I do,
Clarissa,
I love Layla. Like, she did a lot for the sport. I mean, yeah, she was amazing. But yeah, as far as technically, just based on boxing skill alone, like, you'd have to go with Clarissa.
for sure, and she has all the buzz right now in female boxing. I mean, she also made some headlines for calling out Keith Thurman. This is, you're one to you've been on the frontier of trying new things. Like, what's your thought on a male versus female boxing match? And Shields calling out Thurman.
Oh, not fair at all. Not fair at all. I mean, physically, men have denser bones. They have more muscle mass. They have more um ugh, now I'm like losing my thought. They have more testosterone. Um, so it's just biologically, like, it's just not fair. I mean, we can't compare to that, you know. Even if a woman is on roids, it's still not the equivalent.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And for those watching, just a reminder to check out the infographics that we have. Um, and Mia, I gotta hear from you your top five. Who are the top five greatest female boxers of all time?
Oh, of all, including today's women? Okay,
Anything goes. Anything goes.
I'd have to say Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, Holly Holm, um, gosh,
Clarissa
who
Shields.
else? Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, Holly Holm.
Got two more.
I
Squeak it in
know.
there.
Gosh, who would I say? Um, I'd have to throw in Lucia Riker. Um, and oh, Cecilia Breakhouse.
Nice. Okay. So you're not gonna put the person in who I'm talking to right now on the stream.
Oh, I mean, look, I I am very realistic about what I was. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the worst. I was damn good.
Hmm.
But I wasn't the best.
I
That's
appreciate
okay.
it about that.
Hey, hey, I take credit for I'm the queen of media. I was the best at marketing.
Yeah.
I was damn good at marketing. Yeah. I'll take
Like
I'll take the crown for that.
I'm not like you're a businesswoman. I like now it's making sense to me because you handle.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Mia, to close out our stream, I wanted to ask you some rapid fire questions, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you some
Okay.
rapid fire stuff, and we'll go boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay.
Okay.
You ready? You ready for this?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Who's your favorite boxer of all time?
Tommy Hearns.
Okay. Any boxer or opponent you wanted to fight but never could for whatever reason?
Layla Ali.
Oh, okay. Your favorite amongst the current generation of boxers?
Oh, I'd have to go with Clarissa.
Okay. If you want to give important, like if you have it, what advice would you give to current female rising prospects in boxing?
Have an education. Have definitely an education. Oh gosh, and know your business. Handle your money. Know someone that knows how to handle your money.
I feel like you could also give some good marketing tips as well. I feel like that's up your
Oh
wheelhouse.
yes, market the hell. Hire a really good publicist.
Absolutely. Most memorable moment with a fan?
Most memorable. Oh, all of them. All of them. Because I love my fans. Like they're all memorable.
Oh, you don't have one that any crazy fan moments? Any fan do something that was just absurd? You were like, okay, thank you.
I've had fans that have followed me over the years and come to all my signings to this day. Like they came to all my fights, they come to all my signings. Um, gosh, I mean I love them all. Like they've been amazing throughout the years.
Okay. If you had to name the biggest difference between your era of boxing and the current era, what would it be?
Uh, the technical difference, the skill level. The females today are far more skilled than we were back in the day.
Okay. If you
The
had
girls today
to
fight like the men.
talk that
They do.
talk. Absolutely. Absolutely. Between Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, Gervonta Davis, who do you think is the current face of boxing?
Oh, well, you can't ask me that. Obviously, Canelo. But I'm a
Got it.
Canelo fan. But I'm a Canelo fan.
Me too. Me too. No, me too.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not gonna. Hey, no bias there. Objective answer. Objective answer. Um, what would you say is your biggest achievement outside of boxing?
Oh my gosh. I'd have to say my foundation, my foundation, the Mia St. John Foundation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And last but not least, and I'm fascinated to hear your thoughts here. Thoughts on influencer boxing, influencers entering the world of boxing. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, KSI. Do you think it's good for the sport?
I love it. Anything that brings attention to the sport has to be good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for those watching, to watch our other combat folks, Tristan Kennedy, Kai Wu, Adam Wilkes, check out our previous episodes on the ES Fancast. But Mia, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
It's been a great chat with Mia St. John, boxing legend, former Playboy model. I'm your host, Noah Lack, and we hope to see you guys for the next stream.
Thank you.